The battlefield was silent. Smoke still rose from broken machines and shattered weapons. Alien bodies and human soldiers lay side by side, fallen in the dirt. Blaster burns scorched the red soil, and the smell of fire and blood filled the air. Under the gray sky, one figure moved slow, careful steps across the war-torn field. He was a human Marine named Jake Carter, his armor damaged, his arm bleeding. But he was alive. He had one goal, now search for survivors, human or alien. Anyone still breathing. As Jake stepped over a broken crawler tank, he heard something, a soft, weak sound. NNGH. He froze. It didn't sound human. Slowly, he turned toward the noise. Behind a pile of rubble, under metal beams and alien armor parts, he saw something moving. It was a female alien warrior, tall, powerful once, but now broken. Her dark skin was covered in cuts, and her lower body was gone. Her legs, they had been blown off. Her name was Kerala, known among her kind as the Blade of Vetrax. She had led 100 warriors into battle. But now she lay alone, bleeding out, half buried, her breathing slow and shallow. Jake stepped closer, her one good eye opened. She saw the human and growled, "Stay away." Jake dropped to one knee. "You're alive," he said, surprised. "You're really alive." Kerala tried to push herself up but collapsed. "Don't touch me, human. Just let me die." Jake ignored her words and started checking her wounds. Her blood was thick and purple, flowing too fast. He pulled out a medical patch from his bag and pressed it to her side. She gasped. "Why, are you helping me?" Jake didn't answer right away. He looked around. No sign of rescue ships. No sign of her people. They had left her. "Because no one else is," he finally said. "And I don't leave people behind." Kerala coughed. "I'm not people. I'm your enemy." Jake gave a small, tired smile. "Not today, you're not." He wrapped her wounds the best he could. He knew it wasn't enough. Without legs, she couldn't walk. Without help, she would die here, just like the others. Kerala looked up at the sky. "They left me, my squad, my commander. They thought I was dead. They were wrong," Jake said. He gently lifted her upper body. "We need to get out of here. This place is still dangerous." Kerala clenched her jaw. "You won't make it far carrying me. I'm too heavy." "I've carried worse," Jake said. He adjusted his grip and pulled her onto his back. His legs almost buckled under her weight, but he stood tall. Step by step, he started walking across the battlefield. Debris crunched under his boots, smoke burned his eyes. Every few feet, he had to stop and catch his breath. Kerala said nothing. She didn't understand this human. Why would he risk his life for her? "Why do you care?" she asked after a while. "You don't even know my name," Jake grunted. "I don't need to." "You're breathing. That's enough." She was silent for a long time. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not even her own kind. As they reached a broken ridge, Jake's foot slipped. He stumbled, nearly dropping her. "Put me down," she whispered. "Leave me here. You'll die because of me." Jake sat down, his breath heavy. "I don't leave soldiers behind. Doesn't matter where you're from." Kerala stared at the ground. Her pride was gone. Her strength was gone. And yet this human refused to give up. Then, in the distance, Jake saw movement, small figures, heading toward them. He's QUINTD. Scouts. Not human. Kerala saw them too. Her hand moved to the side of her armor, where a blade once was. "Gone. They'll kill us both," she said. Jake stood up again, pulling her back onto his shoulders. "Not if I keep moving." And he did. The alien warrior could feel his heartbeat through his back, steady, strong. As the scouts crept closer, Jake slipped behind a hill, hiding under a burnt-out walker. He whispered, "Just hang on. I'll get you out." Kerala's eyes grew heavy in her last moment before sleep. She whispered something she never thought she would say to a human. "Thank you." She woke up screaming. Kerala's eyes snapped open, her body jerking in fear. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. All she saw was darkness, and fire, and blood. Her chest rose and fell fast. Then a voice, calm and steady, broke through her panic. "You're safe. Breathe slow." It was him, the human. She blinked hard. The battlefield was gone. She was now inside a small cave, its rocky walls lit by the soft flicker of a heating lamp. Cold wind howled outside, but in here, it was warm. Jake Carter knelt nearby, wrapping cloth around her damaged side. She saw her legs again, or what was left of them. Just bandaged stumps. Anger returned. "Don't touch me," she shouted, her voice echoing in the cave. Jake pulled back but didn't flinch. "You were freezing. I had to stop the bleeding again." Kerala tried to sit up, but pain struck like lightning. She groaned and collapsed. Her pride burned more than her wounds. "Why are you doing this?" she growled. "I'm an enemy soldier. I would have killed you if I had the chance." Jake looked at her without hate. "But you didn't." "I still might." "Then wait until you're healed," Jake said calmly. "Fair fight, right?" That answer caught her off guard. She stared at him, confused. He wasn't scared. Not even angry, just focused. Jake stood up and walked to the cave entrance. He watched the dark forest outside. Shadows moved in the distance, scouts or beasts. He didn't know which, but they had to stay hidden. "I carried you for hours," he said, not looking back. "You were almost gone. If I left you there, you would have died cold and alone." Kerala gritted her teeth. "Then maybe you should have." Jake turned around. "I couldn't." "Why?" He paused, then walked closer, sitting on a rock beside her. "When I was young," he said, "my unit was ambushed. My brother was one of the soldiers. He was shot in the leg and left behind. No one went back for him. I begged my commander. He said, 'He's dead weight.'" Kerala listened silently. Now Jake looked at her, eyes steady. "I swore I'd never leave someone like that again." The cave went quiet. The wind outside howled louder, almost angry that life still burned. Inside, Kerala shifted slightly, wincing. Her face was hard, but her voice softened just a little. "My people won't come back for me. They follow only strength. I'm not strong anymore." Jake shook his head. "You survived the battle. You stayed alive after losing your legs. That's strength." She looked away. "No, that's shame. In my world, broken warriors are forgotten." Jake leaned forward. "Not in mine." For the first time in her life, Kerala saw something strange in his eyes. Compassion, not pity, not weakness, but true strength, the kind that doesn't leave people behind. "I still don't trust you," she muttered. Jake smiled a little. "That's fine. I'm not doing this for trust. I'm doing it because you deserve a second chance." Suddenly, a rustle came from outside the cave. Jake instantly reached for his rifle. He signaled for silence. Kerala held her breath. Shadows passed. Near the cave mouth, 3 figures, armed, searching. Jake didn't move. The scouts stood outside, their alien eyes glowing faintly in the dark. They sniffed the air. One of them pointed toward the cave. Jake gripped his weapon tighter. Kerala whispered, "They'll find us. Not if we're lucky." But luck was rare in war. One of the scouts stepped closer to the cave. Jake aimed, but didn't fire. Then, a growl came from the forest behind them. A wild beast, large and loud. The scouts turned fast and ran in the opposite direction. Silence returned. Jake exhaled slowly. "That was close." Kerala stared at him. "You risked your life for me again. I still don't get it." Jake gave her a soft nod. "That's okay, just rest." He returned to the entrance, keeping watch. Kerala looked at the roof of the cave, thinking about everything he said. Everything he did, her people left her to die. He stayed. Even now he stayed. She closed her eyes. For the first time since the battle, she felt something strange. Not fear, not shame, hope. The fire was spreading. It started as a faint orange glow on the horizon, but now thick smoke rolled into the sky. The forest beyond the cave was burning, and the wind was pushing the flames straight toward them. Jake Carter stood at the mouth of the cave, jaw tight, eyes focused. The scouts were gone for now. But nature had brought a new enemy, wildfire. Behind him, Carilla struggled to sit up. Her face was pale, her energy low, but she could smell the smoke too. She knew what it meant. "We have to move," Jake said. Carilla laughed dryly. "Move? I don't even have legs." Jake turned to her, eyes serious. "Then I'll carry you, again." She shook her head. "You'll die before you get a mile. I'm not worth that." Jake didn't reply. He was already packing up supplies. He wrapped a thermal blanket around her shoulders and carefully lifted her into his arms. Her voice dropped low. "You're insane." "Yeah," Jake replied. "But I'm the kind of insane that survives." He stepped out of the cave just as ash began to fall from the sky like black snow. The trees around them cracked and snapped as the fire moved closer. The air was hot and thick. Jake's boots sank into the soft earth with each step. Sweat poured down his face. Carilla's weight pressed against his injured shoulder, but he didn't stop. The smoke made it hard to breathe. Every few seconds, Jake had to blink hard to see where he was going. Flames licked the trunks of trees on both sides. His chest burned, but not from heat, from fear. "Jake," Carilla whispered, her voice barely there. "Put me down." "No. You'll burn." "Not happening." A branch fell behind them with a loud crack, sparks flying everywhere. Carilla looked at him. His jaw was clenched, teeth gritted. Yet he still moved forward. "Why?" she asked, almost to herself. "Why do you care this much?" Jake didn't answer for a moment. Then he whispered, "Because I've seen too much death. One more is too many." They reached the edge of the burning forest and came upon an old battlefield bunker, damaged but still standing. Jake kicked the door open and rushed inside just as the flames began to surround the area. Inside, it was dark and quiet. He laid Carilla gently on the ground, coughing from the smoke. Carilla looked around. "This place, it's ancient, from the first wave of war." Jake nodded. "Should keep us safe, for a bit." She stared at him. "You're insane, human. But you fight harder than any Vatraxian I've known." Jake chuckled, sitting beside her. "You're welcome." She hesitated, then asked something strange. "Why didn't you shoot me when you found me?" "I was still armed." Jake looked at her, serious now. "Because I saw your eyes. You weren't a threat. You were in pain." Carilla turned her face away. She wasn't used to kindness. Not from enemies. Not even from her own people. Before either of them could speak again, the ground trembled. Jake stood up fast, gripping his rifle. "What now?" From the back of the bunker came a sound, scratching. Then a loud, deep growl. Carilla's eyes widened. "That's not fire." Something was inside the bunker with them. Jake aimed his weapon. "Stay behind me." Carilla rolled her eyes. "Where do you think I'm gonna go, genius?" A dark shape crawled into view, low, fast, and angry. It had claws and red eyes. A mutated predator, likely drawn by the heat and blood. It growled again and leapt toward Jake. He fired once, missed. The creature slammed into him, knocking him to the ground. "Jake!" Carilla screamed. Jake kicked the beast back, then slammed his elbow into its jaw. It hissed and tried to bite. Carilla reached around, grabbing a metal pipe from the floor. With all her strength, she threw it. It hit the beast square in the head. Jake didn't waste a chance. He fired again. This time, the shot landed. The creature collapsed. Breathing hard, Jake stood up, covered in blood and dirt. Kerala stared at him. "You're bleeding," Jake smiled. "So are you." She laughed quietly. They were both tired, dirty, hunted, broken, but still alive. Outside, the fire raged inside, in the bunker filled with dust and danger. Something strange had started between a wounded alien warrior and a stubborn human marine. Not friendship. Not yet. But maybe. Something close. She was a warrior. But now she couldn't even crawl. Kerala stared at her reflection in the broken metal wall of the old bunker. Her armor was torn. Her skin was burned. And where her legs once were, there was only bandage. And silence. She had once walked with pride across burning cities, blades in both hands, feared by thousands. Now she sat in a corner. Cold, still, and small. Jake walked back in, carrying the small pack of food and water he had found in a nearby supply box. He looked at her and saw something he hadn't seen before. Tears. She quickly wiped them away, pretending they were nothing. Jake didn't say anything. He placed the food beside her and sat down across from her. The fire outside had passed, but now the bunker was silent again, except for the soft wind through the cracks. "I'm not weak," she said suddenly. Jake blinked. "I never said you were. You didn't have to." Her voice was sharp. "I was a warrior. I trained since childhood. I led soldiers into battles. I never needed help from anyone." Jake nodded. "And now?" Kerala looked away. Her jaw tightened. "Now I can't even lift myself without your hands. That kills me more than any enemy ever could." Jake took a breath. "You know, I've seen a lot of soldiers. Most scream when they lose a limb. Most cry for their mothers. You saved my life in that bunker. With no legs, with no weapons, you still fought. That's not weakness." Kerala didn't answer right away, but her hand gripped the corner of the blanket tighter. "I didn't save you," she mumbled. Jake smiled a little. "You threw a metal pipe at a mutant's face. That counts." She laughed, just once. A small, sharp sound like a broken sword being tapped. Then silence again. Kerala finally asked, "What are you planning to do with me?" Jake looked surprised. "What do you mean? When we get out of here, if we get out? Will you hand me over to human command? Trade me? Use me?" Jake's face turned serious. "No, never." "Then what?" "I'll take you somewhere safe. After that, it's your choice." Kerala looked at him closely. "You're a strange man, Jake Carter. I get that a lot." She lowered her voice. "I still don't know if I trust you." "That's okay," he said. "I trust you. Enough for both of us." She stared at him again. It didn't make sense. Humans were cruel, she was taught, cold, selfish, yet this one gave warmth without asking for anything back. Maybe, just maybe, he wasn't like the others. Later that night, while Jake slept lightly near the bunker entrance, Kerala stayed awake. The pain in her body had become dull now, but the pain in her mind, the broken pride, was sharp. She looked down at herself and whispered to no one, "What am I now?" Then she heard something, a sound, low, faint. Jake opened his eyes. "Did you hear that?" Kerala nodded. "Yes, they're outside." Jake grabbed his rifle quietly. He peeked through a crack in the bunker wall. His eyes narrowed. "It's not scouts, it's a transport drone, crashed." Kerala blinked. "A drone? From whose side?" Jake frowned. "Not sure yet. But maybe there's something we can use. Maps, energy cells, even radio parts." He looked at her. "If I can fix the comm, I might be able to call for help." Kerala nodded. "Do it. I'll be fine here." Jake hesitated. "You sure?" She nodded again, more firm this time. "Go. And take your weapon. I'm not helpless even like this." Jake grinned. "That's the spirit." He stepped out into the dark night, vanishing into the trees. Kerala sat in silence again. But this time, it wasn't shame that filled her chest. It was something warmer. She wanted to live. Not just survive, but truly live. And somehow, that desire came not from her people, but from the human who refused to leave her behind. The first bullet hit the wall just inches from her head. Kerala didn't scream. She didn't move. She couldn't, but her warrior instincts roared to life. She dragged herself behind a pile of rubble inside the bunker as more shots rang out, ripping through the metal walls. Dust filled the air. Sparks flew from a shattered control panel nearby. Outside, heavy boots pounded the ground fast. Organized enemy soldiers. They weren't wild scouts this time. These were trained fighters. Elite. Someone had tracked them. Kerala grabbed the sharp piece of metal lying beside her. It was no sword, but she'd use it like one if she had to. "Jake," she whispered, her voice trembling not from fear, but from fury. "Where are you?" She had told him to go check the drone alone. But now he might walk back straight into a trap. Then, a voice shouted from outside the bunker. "Human soldier! You're surrounded. Step out and hand over the Vitraxian female, and we'll spare your life." Kerala's eyes widened. They weren't here for Jake. They were here for her. In the forest, Jake had just pulled a small battery cell from the broken drone when he heard the gunshots. Then the voice. His blood ran cold. They found her. He threw the cell into his bag and ran back through the trees, heart pounding. The wind cut through the night, branches slapping his face. But he didn't stop. He reached the hill above the bunker and saw them 5 enemy soldiers, armored, weapons aimed at the entrance. Jake raised his rifle and took a breath. One breath. Then he opened fire. The first shot dropped a soldier instantly. The others turned in panic, ducking for cover. Kerala heard the noise and smiled through gritted teeth. He came back. Inside the bunker, she heard one of the enemy soldiers enter. Heavy boots on metal. Close, too close. She held her breath. When the shadow appeared, she struck with the metal shard straight into his leg. He cried out and dropped his gun. She pulled it toward her with her one working arm. She didn't need legs to fight. Not today. Outside, Jake moved fast from tree to tree, firing carefully. 2 more enemies went down. Only 2 left now. One of them tossed a grenade toward the bunker. Jake's eyes widened. No. He broke cover and sprinted toward it. The grenade rolled inside the bunker, only to be kicked back out. Jake dove, grabbing it and throwing it toward the last 2 soldiers. The blast sent them flying. Silence. Smoke. Then coughing. Jake stood up slowly, his ears ringing. He ran into the bunker. Kerala. She was lying on her back, the stolen weapon still in her hand. Her face was smudged with dust, but her eyes were sharp. "Took you long enough," she said. Jake dropped beside her. "You okay?" "I'm still breathing." Jake checked her wounds. She had some new bruises, but nothing fatal. He stared at her amazed. "You fought them off, with one arm, no legs," she smirked. "Told you I wasn't helpless." Jake let out a breath and laughed. Not because anything was funny, but because she was alive. She had survived again. He gently brushed debris from her shoulder. "They wanted you, not me. Why?" Kerala grew quiet. "Because I know things. Tactical maps. Secret tunnels. My mind is still dangerous, even if my body isn't." Jake nodded. "Then we really need to get you somewhere safe." Kerala stared at him. "You came back, again. I always will." She reached out slowly and touched his hand. Her fingers were cold. "Then let's escape together, human." Jake gripped her hand gently. "No more running. Next time we fight together." As the sun started to rise over the hills, smoke from the battlefield drifted into the clouds. The danger wasn't over. More enemies would come, but for now, they were alive. And this time, they weren't just survivors. They were partners. She dreamed she had legs again. In the dream, she stood tall on the battlefield. Her blade was in her hand, her armor shining, her enemies falling before her. But when she reached out to strike one more blow, she stumbled. She looked down. The legs were gone. Again. Kerala woke with a gasp, sweat on her face and her heart pounding. The light in the bunker was dim. Outside, birds sang softly under the morning sky. But inside her chest a storm raged. She looked over and saw Jake sitting at the edge of the room, working with tools and old wires. Sparks jumped from a metal casing. His face was focused, jaw tight. "What are you doing?" she asked weakly. Jake looked up, then smiled. "Fixing your future." She blinked. "What?" He stood, walked over, and gently placed something beside her. A mechanical frame, worn but strong. Metal legs. Her eyes widened. Jake explained. "I found this exoframe in the storage room under the bunker. It's old tech, not perfect, but if I can link it to your nerves, it'll move with your mind." Kerala just stared. No words came out. She reached out a hand and touched the metal. Cold, real, heavy with promise. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. Jake chuckled. "Say you'll walk again." Kerala looked at the exoframe, then at him. "I'll walk again." The process wasn't easy. Jake worked for hours, sweating and dirty, adjusting wires and connecting sensors. He gently lifted her into the suit's harness and strapped it to her spine and hips. It clicked in place. Kerala breathed slow. He turned on the power. The frame buzzed quietly. "Now," Jake said, kneeling in front of her, "think about standing, just standing." Kerala shut her eyes, her face tensed. She focused. Then click. The suit trembled, and slowly, painfully, she rose. Not fully, not steady, but upright. On two metal legs. Kerala opened her eyes and gasped. She was standing. Jake grinned. "Told you." Her hands shook, her voice cracked. I'm on my feet." She tried to take one step. The frame jerked. She almost fell. Jake caught her. "It's okay," he said. "You'll get better." Tears slipped down her cheeks. She didn't care. For the first time since that brutal day on the field, she felt tall again, strong again, whole again. That night, she stood outside the bunker, leaning against Jake. The stars above were bright. "You gave this to me," she said softly. "Not just the suit. The chance to be myself again." Jake looked up at the sky. "You were always a warrior." "The legs just reminded you." She turned to him. "What about you? What drives you to help someone like me?" Jake was silent for a moment. Then he spoke, voice low. "I've done terrible things in this war, hurt people I never met, followed orders that made no sense. But helping you, saving you, it felt right." Kerala looked at him, really looked. "You're not like the others," she said. "You're not just a soldier." Jake glanced at her and smiled. "Neither are you." They stood like that for a while, in silence. But the moment was broken by a beep from Jake's comm unit. He pulled it out. The light flashed, blew a signal. "Someone's out there," he said, "picking up our location." Kerala's eyes narrowed. "Friend or enemy? We'll find out soon." She clenched her fists. "Good, let them come." Jake looked at her mechanical legs, then at her fierce eyes. "You're ready?" She smirked. "I'm standing. What do you think?" The enemy commander stared at her like she was still his property. Kerala didn't move. She stood tall on her new mechanical legs, the wind brushing against her armor and short hair. Behind her, Jake stood with his rifle raised. His eyes didn't blink. Across the ruined field, 5 soldiers stood armed. And in the middle was Commander Threx, the same Vitraxian leader who once gave the order to leave. Kerala behind. Now he had come to claim her back, but something had changed. She wasn't crawling anymore. "Kerala," the commander said loudly, his voice cold and sharp. "You were my best warrior. You should not be walking. That suit belongs to the dead." Kerala's eyes narrowed. "So do you," the commander sneered. "You were broken. Worthless. We gave you the death you deserved." But this human, he dragged you back like some wounded pet. Jake stepped forward. She's not a pet. She's a person. And she's not yours. Threx raised a hand. His soldiers pointed their weapons at them. Jake didn't move. You'll have to go through me, the commander smirked. Gladly. But before he could give the order, Kerala took her first. Step forward. Then another. Metal legs hissed with power as she marched across the dirt, head held high. Jake reached to stop her, but she shook her head. Let me face them. The commander's face twitched. You really think you're still a warrior? Kerala stopped only a few steps away from him. No, she pulled a small plasma knife. From her belt repaired by Jake's hands, I'm something new. The commander raised his weapon, but she was faster. With one clean swing, she sliced the barrel off his rifle. The other soldiers raised theirs, but Jake was already moving. 2 shots. 2 weapons down. The third soldier turned and ran. The rest froze. The commander backed away, his voice trembling now. You were supposed to die. Kerala stood over him, eyes glowing with cold fire. You left me to die. But a human gave me life. She pointed her blade at his throat. You don't get to own me ever again. The commander fell to his knees. Jake stepped beside her. What do you want to do with him? Kerala looked down. Then she turned away. Let him live with the shame. Jake smiled. Now that's power. Later, after the enemy squad was gone, Kerala and Jake sat near the fire outside the old bunker. The battle was over. But the journey WASN single quotes D. Jake looked at her legs, at the light blue energy glowing inside them. Never thought I'd see the day you'd outrun me. Kerala smiled. Don't slow down, human. He chuckled, then looked serious. What will you do now? She paused. I don't know. I can't go back to my people. They'll never see me as whole again. Jake nodded. Then maybe you come with me. She raised an eyebrow. To Earth? Or wherever we're needed. You fight. I fix things. Sounds like a good team. Kerala looked into the fire. For the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of tomorrow. I used to fight for honor, she said. Now, I want to fight for something real. Jake reached out and took her hand. Then fight with me. She looked at his hand and held it tighter. The alien warrior was no longer abandoned. The human marine was no longer alone. Together, they walked into a new world side by side. Not as enemies, not as tools of war. But as something greater.